Hello. Um, Today I'm going to be showing you how to rig a model and then how to animate a character that's rigged in Blender. Um, this is in Blender, so I won't be able to help with 3ds Max, although at least with the posing bit, it's very similar to how 3ds Max is. So first I'm gonna go to File, Open, and then I already have a downloaded character or like a person that's not rigged yet. You could use any sort of model, but I just downloaded one off the internet, a really basic one. So we have our character. Um, First thing we want to do is go to Edit, Preferences. Go to add-ons, and then when you're in this, type in Rigify. You should see it right here. You should have that checked, so if it's not checked, just check it, and then we can go on with the rest of it. Then we're going to go to Add, and then go down to Armature. Now, an armature is what you use to rig a character. There are a bunch. There's a single bone, there's a human rig, which is just a basic human, or if you go to basic and then basic human, it's a human but with less detail in it. So for our case, we're going to use the human meta rig. Add human meta rig. We're also going to go into wireframe mode just to make this a lot easier. So you're just going to want to scale up your meta rig, and then you want to go into edit mode and then match these bone things up to the to your counterpart, like to its model counterpart. But before you do that, for my model, I do not have any facial features on him, as you can see. So I'm gonna go in and delete the facial bones from this rig. I'm just gonna drag, then shift click to undo the selections I don't want to make. Make sure everything I want is selected. And then delete bones. Now all the bones are gone. All the facial bones. Now if you have a facial character, you're going to want to line up the facial bones with your character, but for the sake of this tutorial, this character doesn't have a face, so we don't have to worry about that. Now one thing you want to be sure of is when you delete the facial bones, be sure to delete this specific bone right here. It's actually in the head. It'll get in the way later on if you don't delete it now. Alright. We're just gonna put this back here. There we go. I'm just gonna set all of its position back to 0. Alright, now we're gonna go back to selecting the wireframe and go to edit mode. Now before you do anything, there's going to be a little menu right here, a little pop-up menu. If you don't see it, it will just be a little arrow that you can click on. Then go to the Tools tab, Options, X-axis Mirror. This will help us out because we won't have to move both sides. In order to get something right, we can just move one and it moves it on the other side as well. So then we're just gonna line up all the bones. Finger bones are gonna be especially difficult. Now, for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm not going to be exact, but you want to try and get your bones as closely connected to your model as possible. That way the animations will turn out real. One thing you also want to make sure is that your bones aren't too big. Like you see here, if I move this bone in here, it'll start popping out a little bit. So you want to just press S, which is the scale option, and then just scale it down a little bit. Also be sure to try to match this up really closely with how the arm is. How the arm is kind of folded a little bit. Otherwise the model will look very wonky when you're messing around with it. Now we're just going to go down to the feet and do the same thing. Fun making a model, putting in all the details, kind of, sort of. Okay, this looks about right. Next thing you're gonna want to do, get exit out of wire. Actually, no, I'm gonna go back into wireframe. Go to object mode, select both the armature and the model, right click and go to parent, and then go to the armature deform part and go to with automatic weights. That just automatically sets it for you. Now that this is all set, go and select the meta rig, as it's called. Go down to this part in the viewport, the like meta rig part of the properties, and then go to generate rig, and then you'll have this generated rig. I'm gonna go back into this, and as you can see, they're actually not lined up yet. It just made the rig. So now what you want to do, okay, now what you want to do is in object mode, select both the model and the rig now made, then go to parent with automatic weight. It's gonna load for a little bit. My computer is really fast, so like my home computer, so this will probably take a little bit if you're using Blender on a school computer. As you can see, the fingers don't really seem to be lined up. I don't really know what happened. This is where you would go back and edit your meta rig to see if anything's wrong, but I think this will work just to show you this is how you make a meta rig. Now if you move this, you'll see that it actually moves along with the human. At this point you don't really need the armature, but I'm just going to keep it there. So yeah, you can now move your person around and he moves with all this. So this is how you make a rig for your model. Modeling your character is actually very simple after this. So modeling's very simple. We're not modeling. Animating is pretty simple. You just have to go to in your modes tab. Once you select your character, you should now see a tab called pose mode. Select that, and that's how you pose your character. You can make them do all sorts of stuff. Now, if you ever wanted to have a more simple model to maneuver around with, then you could just parent the armature as normal, and then you should be able to move it around as normal. But if you want a more detailed rig that allows you to do more things, then you have the Rigify. So how to animate. At the bottom of your screen, you should see this little slider. This is showing frames. And so basically you can use it as like a time frame for all of your stuff. So if you want to animate something, we're just going to go to the hand, move it forward. Actually, you know what, I am going to delete this armature. Okay, so yeah, you just grab one of your things, one of your model bit thingies, and then move it, then press A, and then I. You press A because A is select all. That way, when you press I, you see insert keyframe. When you insert a keyframe, that's pretty much just saying this is where all these items are supposed to be in this frame. So there are multiple. You could set only the location, only the rotation, or only the scale. I like to set all three. That way, if I end up messing with scale for some reason, the model won't just use the new scale I make as the scale of the item for the entire animation. So set location, rotation, scale. Now move your slider a little bit. And then let's move this a little bit more. Then a eye rotation, location, scale. And now you see when I move it back and forth, it's moving. So if I press space, see, it moves around a little bit. So you can do this with all the bones. Now, a little piece of advice when it comes to animating. I'm still not very good at this either. This is still relatively new to me, especially modeling with a model that I rigged myself instead of just a test model that's already been pre-rigged. But one thing you want to do when animating is to have a reference on hand. So for me, that's just a video. So there are a lot of reference videos out there for animators, whether they be drawing or 3D animators. Either way, it still works. Like, for instance, let's look up backflip reference. And there's a backflip reference. And you can use that. I typically like to go frame by frame and see all the stuff that they do. Now, a lot of times you're going to want a better animation reference, like one that isn't running at like 10 frames per second on somebody's iPhone 2, but you're going to want a more high quality animation. That way you can really see everything that happens in it, every single specific movement that you do. I'm just going to save this. Now, for example, I already have a model that I've made, or not I've made, but I've tested out with, that has some animations that kind of show what it's like if you do this a bunch. I tried to make a backflip. Well, first I tried to make a slap. I realized I need to make it faster. There's a separate menu for messing around with how fast these transition to the next animation, but I'm not going to mess around with that this time since I'm not too familiar with that either. Yep, character just does a backflip, fall on their face. As you can see, it's not that good, but it just involves messing around with it a bunch, tweaking it, and then I'll probably make another tutorial once I learn more about this, about animating and how to make a really good animation. And then I have just a simple zombie walking animation. So yeah, that's how you rig and then model a character in Blender. I hope this tutorial helped you out. This keyframes part, that's very similar to 3ds Max. How you just move, rotate, scale something, and then insert the keyframe. So if you're using 3ds Max and trying to animate, that's at least how you start animating. Again, there's a lot of things going into animation, and I'm gonna try to make another tutorial once I'm also more versed in this. So anyways, thanks for watching the tutorial. See you later.